when it comes to the government or ruling, it becomes important to share the power among the different communities, different linguistic people, and different type of culture. In this chapter, in this discussion, what we have discussed about the democracy in the earlier discussions, we understood what is democracy, how democracy is implemented in countries, especially in India, what kind of democracy we have, what are our fundamental rights. All these we have seen. If we are talking about democracy, there will be a power, there will be a government. So the intelligent sharing of power among various parts of democracy, that is the legislature, executive, judiciary, it is very important, because this is the basis of democracy and the design of democracy will be good. To understand this, we will take example of two different countries. One is our Asian country, the other is a European country. Now, how these two countries, the story of these democracies, how they handled the power sharing. One did something good, one did something not so good. We will be talking about Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is our neighbor, near Tamil Nadu it is. And then we will talk about the other European country, which is called as Belgium. Now Belgium has the upper part which you see here, red one. This is called Flemish part. And here mostly Dutch speaking people lives here. In the down part, we have French speaking people and 1% is German. So Belgium and Sri Lanka, first of all, let us understand about Belgium. Now Belgium is a very small country and this is situated in Europe, and the population is half of what we have in Haryana. Haryana is one of the state in our country. Haryana has 2 crore population and Belgium has only 1 crore population. The borders of Netherlands, it touches Netherlands, France, Luxembourg and Germany. So what happened here is, what is the scenario? 59% in this Flemish region, they speak Dutch. So this Flemish region, they speak Dutch. And 40% people, they live here, that is called the Wallonia region. This is a Wallonian region. They speak French. So here Dutch, here French. And 1% if you see here, this area, here we see Belgians which are German speaking. Then there is a very peculiarity about the place called Brussels, which is the capital of Belgium. Now 80% people speak French here and 20% speak Dutch. So let me make you understand that 59% are Dutch, 40% are French speaking. So here is the majority of Dutch speaking people if you consider all the Belgium. When you talk about, this is Belgium, when you talk about Brussels, then here 80% are French and 20% are Dutch speaking. Now here we have in the whole country the domination is of the Dutch speaking one, and in Brussels the French are dominating, that is 80%, around in 10, 8 are German, 8 are French and 2 are Dutch speaking. So now this has a kind of you can say very vivid or different type of communities living together. What happened? What was the root of problem that may arise? It didn't, but still it was there. Now the minority French, they were quite rich and powerful. They are minority here, but they were rich and they were powerful also. And the Dutch speaking, the benefit of the economic development and all the education and the money, it came later. Means the French, they happened to get all these richness and powerfulness earlier than Dutch. So there was a kind of tension. And the tension here also in Brussels, you can see 80% people French, they are rich, they are powerful. So the problem here is more. So what was the idea or model of power distribution? Because the scenario in both the places are different. We will talk about Sri Lanka in a bit, but before that, we need to understand what happened, how it happened in Belgium. So Belgium followed the rule of accommodation. That is, Belgium follow the rule of power sharing. Belgium and Belgium people, the Hukmaran and the leaders, they understood that this country has regional differences. There are two regions, upper region Dutch, lower region French, and the culture are also different. So from 1970 to 1993, they amended their constitution 4 times. Why? Because they wanted everyone to live together with harmony in the same country. So what was the model of Belgium? What they followed? The Belgium model was mainly, first is the constitution, or you can say the constitution prescribed that the number of Dutch and number of French speaking ministers, Dutch and the French speaking ministers will be equal. That is, in central government, if you have 10 ministers, 5 will be Dutch speaking, 5 will be French speaking. If any law has to be made, that requires the support of majority of the members from each of the linguistic group, Dutch and French. That is, no single community can make decision unilaterally. The problem is, if it would have happened, Dutch would have made because they are in majority in the country, they will make their own decisions, but it was not there. Equal distribution of power between the different linguistic community. The second was many powers of the central government. Now we have talked about central government. It is for the whole Belgium. Now if you see, there are 2 parts or 2 regions, the Flemish and the Wallonian region. So these 2 also have their own government, and these are the government which are not a subordinate of the central government. So they are not Adhin central government. They are completely different government taking care of these regions. This was the, you can say this regional government, you can say. Now the third thing in this model was Brussels, because Brussels has 80% French and 20% of the Dutch. So the Brussels has its own government. Again, the French and the Dutch, they have equal representation. Now why did this French allow? Because they were 80% and they were only 20%. Why they allowed and why they accepted that the representation should be equal? That is, again, if there are 10 ministers here, 5 will be here, 5 will be from Dutch. Why French accepted it? Because in the central government, though Dutch were 59%, but still they got only 5 representation. If I can take an example, it means 50% of the ministers will be from Dutch. So French here accepted it. So it was equal power representation. One more thing happened, that apart from this central government and the state government, you can say, then there was a community government also. Now community government for what? Because they were Dutch speaking, they were French speaking, they were German speaking. So these are the government taking care of the culture of these people, the education of these people, and language related issues. So there was a third government also. So if you see, you will say that this model is quite complicated, This model, 4 level of government, it is quite complicated, but the power sharing has been done in such a way that till now Belgium as a country has seen no problem at all. No one has said anything or no problem according to the power sharing, or the linguistic people have any kind of tension they don't have. After seeing all this, the European Union, when they decided that where the headquarters should be located, they decided it should be in Brussels. So what you see here, what was the example I wanted to set here is that Belgium, it took all things into consideration, the regional differences, the cultural diversities, and they shared the power equally among all the different communities living there, people living there. But this didn't happen in Sri Lanka. Now in Sri Lanka, the population is 2 crore. It's an island country, I showed you that. Now 2 crore is around equal to the Haryana population what we have in India. Now here also the community is quite diverse. Now if this is Sri Lanka, then 74% speak Sinhali. So they are called Sinhala. 18% they speak Tamil. And in this 18% Tamil, and let me tell you that in Sinhala, this is the language difference. Now Sinhala, let me tell you about Tamil also. Now in this Tamil, there is two more bifurcations. So 2 subgroups of Tamil. In this, they are 13%. In this Tamil, 13% are the native Tamils. Those who are belonging to this nation only. And others, they have come, the other Tamils, they have come from India. Because in Sri Lanka, there are various places to work, especially the bagans, chai bagans, the tea gardens. So these Tamils who went from Tamil Nadu or Indian region to Tamil area, or you can say the Sri Lanka Tamil region, they are called as Indian Tamils. So we have two subgroups here, Indian Tamils and Sri Lankan Tamils. Now this is about the language. Now let me talk you about the religion. Now the 74% Sinhala, they are Bauds, they are Buddhist. So they are Buddhist. The 74%. Others, that is the Tamil, they are mostly, the Tamils are Hindus also and Muslims also. So they are Hindus, Muslims. Along with this we have 7% population of Christians. So these Christians, they are both Tamil and Sinhala. They speak Tamil also and Sinhala also. Now you can see there is a quite complicated scenario here, and we have Sinhalas, we have Sri Lankan Tamils, Indian Tamils and Muslims. So this is the region of Tamil. This is the Tamil dominated region. Others are distributed, means Sinhala are distributed. Now what happened? The thing started with a majoritarianism in Sri Lanka. In 1948, Sri Lanka got its independence. Now the leaders of Sinhala community and also the government, that is the central government which is properly elected government. So Sinhala community leaders and this government, because the government was dominated by the Sinhala community people, in 1956 they passed the act that now this Sinhala or this language will be the official language of the country. They just disregarded Tamil language. And also they had in constitution that they are going to protect and foster Buddhism. So what will happen to Hindus, Muslims and the Christians? So they started doing this thing. So there was a kind of alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils. Now because Tamils, what the government has decided, the government said that okay, the Sinhala will be favored as far as university positions are concerned, jobs are concerned, their culture is not being seen. So they had a feeling of alienation. They had a feeling of alienation that our Tamil, first of all our language and our religion is not being taken care by the government, and they are alienating us. They are not treating us in that way which we should be. And because of this, the Sinhala and Tamil, they started having tensions. Now because the Tamil has nothing to do, because they wanted something, their leader, or they started making different organization and went to the government. They said, okay, we want our let us give this place to us, give us an autonomy of this place. But the Sri Lankan Tamils, though they launched parties and struggles, the government did not allow, or they didn't even give any ears, or blind ears, you can say, deaf ears to the autonomy what the Tamils were wanted. Now Tamil has nothing to do. What can they do? They started wars, or you can say civil war. Now what is a civil war? Say if you and your neighbor, they start fighting, that is a war. But when you and your brothers start fighting, that is a civil war, because it is inside home. So when in Sri Lanka, the Sinhala, the Tamils, they started fighting internally, this was a civil war. And we have already seen that this widespread conflict of these two communities and different communities, the problem is that Sri Lanka was having a very good social, economic and cultural, in these South Asian countries, it was having a very good level, but the problem was, because of these civil war, because of this widespread conflict, it was a setback to all the social, cultural, economic level of Sri Lanka. So this Sri Lanka did, and you see that the problem of Sri Lanka not sharing the power, not giving enough representation or power to the Tamils, to Indian, and you can combine them, Indian and the native Tamils, along with the Christians and also the communities, different communities, Hindu and Muslim, because they started protecting only the Buddhist religion. So there was a war, and everything went from very good to very severe case. Now we come to the question that why is power sharing desirable? Belgium did a very good job, but Sri Lanka, they didn't do that job, so there was a problem of civil war. Thousands of people were killed of both the communities. So two different set of reasons we can give in favor of power sharing. First, we can say that power sharing is good because it helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between social groups. In Belgium, there were French speaking, Dutch speaking. There can be a problem between these two, but it didn't happen. But in Sri Lanka, the Tamils and Sinhala, they started fighting, and it was a civil war. LTT came into existence, the liberation tiger of Tamil Eelam. Eelam is the Sarkar, that is the government. So they wanted to liberate that Tamil area, and it was all bloodshed. So firstly, the power sharing is good because any possibility of conflict can be stopped, reduced. And the second is the deeper reason why this power sharing is important. Whenever we talk about democracy, it is good for democracy, because power sharing is the only and very spirit of democracy. It is the Atma of democracy. So the democratic rule involves sharing power with those which are affected by its exercise or who have to live with its effect. For example, here French and Dutch, here Tamilians and Sinhalas. So this first one, let us call it as prudential, because it is quite moral, very, you can say very common sense thing. And while this prudential reasons stress that the power sharing will bring out better outcomes, the second one, which we call as this one as moral, this moral reason emphasizes the very act of power sharing as valuable. Everyone will feel that we are in power and we are being thought of, and now we are also the part of decision making, policy making. So there are certain forms of power sharing. One by one we are going to see. So first of all, the idea of power sharing has emerged in opposition to the notions of undivided political power. And for a long time it was believed, it was thought that the power of government should reside with one person or a group, or located at one place. But the basic principle of power sharing is that people are the source, the soul of all political power. So everyone has to get a share. In a good democratic government, due respect is given to the diverse group. As in Belgium, the Dutch, the French, even the German got their equal, you can say, equal share. And views that exist in society, different society. What didn't happen in Sri Lanka. Everyone has a voice in the shaping of public politics. So it follows that in a democracy political power should be distributed among as many citizens as possible. So for power sharing is the key of any democracy. So in modern democracy, what we see, how is the arrangement of sharing the power? If you see the first one here, this is the horizontal distribution of power. In this legislature, executive, judiciary, they are at equal level and they use their power, they enjoy their power, use their power, employ their power, and now they also check others' power. Judiciary will check the power if legislature makes something law, some law which is not justified. So every part or every stable of the democracy are is same level. They are at same level and they are also checking one another. That is why we call this arrangement as the arrangement of checks and balances. The second one is the vertical distribution of power. Let us take an example of India. We have a central government and this is for the whole country. Then we have state government for each state which we have. And this below level, one more level, we have municipality and panchayats. So this is a ward level, this is a state level, and this is a central level. All these have different powers, though the power start reducing when we come from top to bottom, but still everyone has its own power, every government has its own power. Then we have the third one, which is the power sharing among different social groups. We call it as a community government. As we saw in Belgium, the Flemish community, the French community and the German speaking community, they all got equal share of, or they have their own community government. So now the different parts or diversity or communities, they can have their own government. That is called community government. This is also one of the type of power sharing. Then we have the coalition government. That is, if you see here, different people are heading different parties, and all parties have different vichardharas, different thoughts. So all these can combine their ideas together and they can form a government. For example, Mulayam Singh party or Indian National Congress or Mayawati party, they can combine or they can come together and they can form a coalition government. So if representation of different kind of people they are representing, they can be thought as a coalition government. Here I have just given the difference between the horizontal and vertical because it is generally asked. So what are the most common arrangement that we saw? Let me take you through it again. First one is the horizontal. So power is shared among different organs of the government like the legislature, executive and judiciary, and we call it as a horizontal distribution because it allows different organs of the government placed at the same level to exercise different powers. So this is the horizontal one. We have vertical one. The power can be shared among different governments or among governments at different levels. General government or central government for the entire country, and then for each state, province or regional level we have different governments. The division of higher and lower levels of government is called the vertical division of power. The third one, as I said, power may be shared among different social groups like religious or linguistic groups. This is called community government. It's a good example of this arrangement. Then we have power sharing arrangement that can also be used in a way of political parties, coalition government, Mili-Juli Sarkar or alliance. So pressure groups and movement controls or influence those in power.